Welcome to today's English class. Today I am going to teach you not a lesson alone, it's a story. And I am knowing very intelligently that students love stories, even in the PUC level. And the story is about someone who is a gardener. And gardens, of course, you have gardens in your home. You may have a vegetable garden, you may have a flower garden, or you may have other crops like coconut trees, some fruit trees, and so on. And these gardens are looked after with lot of love and affection. Many of you might have seen, if at all you have worked for in the garden, you may go to the garden every day to see how many flowers are just blooming. And the vegetable garden, whether it has flowered and how it is growing, everything you may go to see. And usually gardeners have a taste for this and they love to do gardening every day. It is not just one day's work, they have to do it every day. In the same way, in this lesson, we come across a kind of competition and rivalry. And what is the difference between competition and rivalry? Rivalry is a kind of competition, amicable competition. What is competition then? Competition is when you want to compete with somebody. That may be a person known to you, or there may be many people who are unknown to you. For example, a running race. There are so many participants and they have joined there, they have come there to compete with each other, and they strive their level best to reach the goal, either to get first or second or third and so on. But rivalry, many a times, it may occur with one person or many, but he will be having that competition and he will be continuing that rivalry step by step. It will increase, and when the rivalry goes on to the higher level, the competition becomes tougher. And today, our great writer, P. Lankesh, he has written this great story. And when I talk about P. Lankesh, surely I have to tell about him. P. Lankesh was born in 1935. He lived up to 2000. He was a great Indian writer and journalist who wrote in Kannada, but graduated with his honors degree in English from the Central College of Bangalore, and he completed his Masters of Arts degree in English from Maharaja College, Mysore. P. Lankesh has written several stories, essays, and many works. Kereya Neerannu Kerege Chelli, a collection of short stories published in 1963. This was followed by several collections of short stories and poetry. 3 novels he has written, critical essays he has written, and even he has translated many. For example, Oedipus Rex and Sophocles, Antigone, and several plays and films he has brought out. His 1976 film, Pallavi, a cinematic narration told from the female protagonist's point of view and based on his novel, Biruku, won India's National Award for Best Direction. And of course, P. Lankesh is known for his great paper, Lankesh Patrike. And I too came to know about P. Lankesh because of Lankesh Patrike. I used to read that. Many of the seniors, of course, they know him by the paper because it was a very good paper and qualitative paper. But I told you earlier, I am little bit surprised. Lankesh has studied English literature, but he wrote in Kannada, Totadavanu. This story is written in Kannada, Totadavanu. And this is translated by a great person who was a Kannada professor. And he translated Totadavanu from Kannada to English version. And that is none other than Professor H.S. Raghavendra Rao. And as this writer's introduction only begins like this, the story also goes like the two ways. There are two ways stories, and surely let us learn what it is. It is said that in these short stories, Lankesh shows his preoccupation with human meanness. That means mean-mindedness. That means showing a small-heartedness, and attempts to explore the evolution of a post-emergency political and cultural scenario. The title, When Stone Melts, refers to the mystery at the heart of every transformation, the invisible and inescapable play of history and location that engender the process of change. The narrator addresses the reader directly. That means in this lesson, the gardener, the narrator addresses the reader directly in the first person, asking for an apology for being brief. He says that the story was conceived in a flash. Suddenly, it occurred. How? Hence, if he elaborates it, now if he says like this happened when I went there, when I came here, it becomes an elaborate thing. So he wants to make it at a flash. The story will lose its vitality, its speciality. So he doesn't want to extend it. And there are only 4 characters besides the narrator. There are 4 characters besides the narrator. Tammanna, Basavaya, or he is also called as Sangoji in the beginning, and the owner of the coconut grove and his wife. The coconut grove, there is the owner and his wife. So 4 people, and next to that there is the narrator. There are 2 stories in the story. Now, I told you there are 2 stories in the story. The first story is narrated by the author in the first person. He says, when I went there, I saw an old man. That is first person. He is telling this story. And Tammanna, who is also the protagonist in the story, first story, he also narrates some things. He narrates the whole thing, and that also we come to know. In the second story, the narrator or protagonist tells his own story to the lady, distancing himself from the main story. The main story is there. He doesn't make her think that he himself is the person, but at the end, everyone comes to know, or she comes to know, it was none other than Tammanna himself. Now, what is the story? Total story about this. The narrator says the story originated in his chance, an encounter with an old man. That means he was just going somewhere and he found an old man who was standing in a coconut grove near Chandrayapatna. You may know Chandrayapatna. Okay, Chandrayapatna is a very famous place, and near Chandrayapatna there was a coconut grove, and the poet saw him there, or the writer saw him there. The old man who had been employed in the coconut grove was a laborer. That means he was ready to do any work. He was carrying a spade Usually a laborer always carries some things to work, and he was with a spade, and he was a overseer. Overseer means like he was looking after the things well, and like a supervisor who is himself very much interested in the work, and a philosopher. Philosopher always thinks a lot, all rolled into one. That means he was a philosopher, he was a overseer, and he was the laborer. That is the kind of old man. And one day, the old man came to the coconut garden after walking hundreds of miles. How many miles? We don't know. Hundreds of miles. Since the owner of the plantation needed a person of his qualification. What will be the qualification? What qualification a person who is having a plantation requires? Of course, he wants a laborer who can work to the best of his ability. And if you should work for his owner or the boss, whatever he says, he should accept. And he hired him immediately. Talking to him for a few minutes, he understood that this old man is a suitable person for my plantation or garden, and surely he will work well. Thus, the old man became an employee in the coconut grove and stayed on. The old man did useful work. That means he was always keen in his work. He knew what to do, how to do, where to go about, and everything. So, he used to do the best work, and he was so well versed in agriculture that he easily understood the problems of each and every worker. The petty thefts in the garden came to an end, because earlier nobody to look after that whole plot. So now a person who is capable of doing wonderful work there and who is loving his work, okay, such a person has come. So all petty thefts in the garden came to an end, and naturally the income from the garden improved dramatically and extensively. Consequently, the increase in income brought a perceptible change in the lifestyle of the owner. Usually, any job we start from petty things, small things. Once we grow up, our lifestyle changes, because financially we become sound, income increases. At that time, our all incoming problems become lesser. So we will be leading a very, very comfortable life. The plantation expanded, but the owner became lazy. This is what is wrong, isn't it? We have to grow, let our plantation grow, let it get extended, but we, being the owners, we should not become lazy. That is the lesson, that is the story which is going to tell you. You should not become lazy, my dear. All the students, we should become alert. As it grows, plantation or our garden or whatever business we go on, when we grow up, we should always be more keen in our work, because we have expanded this with lot of difficulty. So we have to accomplish our job well. But this owner became lazy and shied away from the hard work. That means whatever hard work he used to do earlier, he stopped doing that. Naturally, it affects the family. In the family, usually, who is going to get affected from this, or who is going to get worried first? Of course, the owner's wife. The owner's wife found the owner's behavior strange. How come this is possible? He was so much interested in the garden and everything. He was going early morning, and now he is lethargic. His behavior is strange and puzzling to the great lady. She found it hard to decide whether the old man's arrival, that means this laborer or the old man who has come, his arrival was for the better or worse. This was a confusion that old lady had, and her husband's wealth and the social prestige and the reason to that higher position, and he had acquired a great number of friends. Earlier, he used to work in the garden. He was busy there day in and day out. Now he has many friends in his own village and in the next town also. Like that, he is busy in other things. He is not concentrating in his garden or plantation. Even though he did not do any useful work, his life became crowded with colorful events. Usually like that. When you mingle with friends and everything, you don't have time. That means you are busy in your own things, and your plans may differ with your friends. So like that, his whole life became colorful. On account of his newly acquired clout, he cultivated different vices, including adultery. He went to the wrong ways, arenas. Though their farm was initially merely 10 acres in the beginning, it had grown beyond the imagination of himself. Beyond the limit, the imagination of the owner, it grew. So now, this is the worry that great lady had. Therefore, the owner's wife realized that financially they had been doing well. Now, there is no worries financially because this old man is working day in and day out. There is income just coming in and everything is fine. Financially, he need not worry, but they had been doing well. But her only source of worry was that along with financial improvement, their life was also gradually getting out of hand. Out of hand, that means everything is going away. Though everything looks that it is fine, but her husband is not worried about the whole plantation and other things. He is not concentrating his land. He is going with his friends. This really irritated her and she got worried about this. Thus, one day, when she was in a fix like this, that means I don't know what to do. This my husband is not at all concentrating in the land, and even he is not spending much time at home. He is not spending his time with me, and she got disturbed and she had a fix. That means, why like this? Why it should happen like this? The old man found her worries were really true, and what she was thinking, the old man came to know, and the old man met her. He smiled at her and brought down an offender coconuts from a nearby tree and sat on the embankment there, and he offered that coconut to her, and she had no alternative, and so she sat next to him. The old man now begins his narrative and takes the action or plot to its climax. Now, henceforth you listen the exact story from the old man, and you know that always these old people, they are good in telling stories. When we were small also, you know that we used to sit with our grandfather, grandmother, and we used to tell Aja or grandfather, please tell us some story, a very interesting story. And they used to tell us a lot of stories. Just like that, this lady sat there and the old man started. The old man says that in a far off place, once there lived a man called Tammanna. Now, Tammanna's entry. Once there was a far off place. In that place, there was a person called Tammanna. He had everything. 10 acres of land, a comfortable house, and people too ready to carry out his orders or instructions. Besides these possessions, he also had a rival. I told you about rivalry, and now he also had a rival, and his name was Sangoji. Now, this Tammanna, he was having a rival. That means rival should be of maybe he was also having some land there. So, a rival appeared there, and he is naming him Sangoji. However, soon after uttering the name Sangoji, this old man started fumbling for the words. So fumbling means, understood, no? And like this, okay, and then he, as if he has committed some mistake, not Sangoji, like that, means this is the expression. He had some confusion, and the coconut grove owner's wife, who was listening keenly, felt that it was none of her concern, whatever it may be, Sangoji or someone, whatever is not no worries. So let him tell. So she was not having concern at all, and felt like going away immediately, but not wishing to hurt the old man, because he was a very good old man who had offered coconut, I told you, and she continued to sit there quietly. So she sat there quietly, and she had patience enough, and this old man continued his story. He corrected himself once, saying his name was not Sangoji. His name was not Sangoji, but Basavaya. Now he changed it, Basavaya. Now, at this moment, we can understand in the story, the narrator gives a hint to the reader. That means, readers you are reading, and we are readers. I have read, I am also a reader. You are the readers, my dear students. He gives a hint. What is the hint to the reader? That the old man is telling a true account of his own experience. He said, not Sangoji. That means, he had uttered someone's name, but he wants to tell that Basavaya is his competitor. He is very particular about that. That means this story is not about anybody else. It is of his own. We come to know here, in this particular juncture, we come to know this story is not others' story. This is his own. So, he continues the story. The old man continues the story. Both Tammanna and Basavaya were rivals. Okay, both were rivals. If Tammanna bought 4 more acres, now for example, he had 10 acres, he purchased 4 acres for himself adjacent to his land. Immediately Basavaya would see, how come he is going to purchase? So Basavaya would also do the same. I want to also purchase 4 acres of land. Why he only should have, I too will have 4 acres of land. Like that, the rivalry started. If one of them had 10 friends, the other would also acquire 10, sometimes 10, or sometimes it is 15 admirers. Some people, there are admirers. That means whatever he does, they think that it is good. They are admirers, and they will comment upon that. So they admire the things. So you have done well. So you have purchased 4 acres land. Not worry. So he has 4. You are also equal to him. Need not worry. You can, if you want to try, you can try more, like that. So like these admirers, many times in our life, people come like that. So like that, this old man is guiding, telling that how Basavaya also purchased 4 acres of land. Though initially all this looked like healthy competition, it took a nasty turn later. That means it became crookedness later on. Their rivalry rose to such a pitch that there was no land left in the whole village. There was no land left. That means everything they bought. They became selfish. All land belonged to either Tammanna, or if there is other land that belongs to Basavaya. Only these two great people, great planters. Tammanna had 100, that means not 100, Tammanna had 1,000 acres of land. 1,000 acres of land in a village. And Basavaya also was not less. He had 800 acres of land. Now you may ask, why 800? Why 1,000? He too wanted to have 1,000 acres of land, but there was no land left there. Because already whatever land was there, 1,800 acres maybe, all 800 he has purchased, and 1,000 acres Tammanna has purchased. No land left there. And Basavaya could not tolerate this. No, I too want 200 acres of land. Like him, I want to be 1,000 acres land owner, but there is no land left. So his men asked Tammanna to sell 200 acres, but Tammanna refused. That means Basavayya's people went there. That means those were supporters, admirers of Basavayya. They went to Tammanna. See, of course, you are having land. If you are selling, you have a chance now. Basavayya is ready to take 200 acres of land. Why don't you sell to Basavayya? But Tammanna refused to do so. On the other hand, Tammanna offered to buy all the land that belonged to Basavayya. Do you understand the rivalry now? Where it has gone to? He has 1,000 acres of land. He is ready to purchase even that 800 acres of land which Basavayya had. Now you may call it competition. It is one kind of competition, but you see how much rivalry has grown up. And Basavayya became furious because of this. How come 1,000 acres of land he is having and he is ready to purchase even my land? I am not going to give. And he went along with his people and acquired 2 acres of Tammanna's land forcibly. Now, when nothing works, force does. Okay, so forcibly Tammanna's land was taken. And how? And he got it fenced up all around, encroached. He encroached. Who? Basavayya encroached the land. He occupied the land forcibly and he fenced up all around 200 acres of land. Now, Tammanna could not put up with this invasion. Now, he could not tolerate. Who will tolerate? Because forcibly, if somebody does like this, injustice, who can tolerate? And Tammanna could not tolerate this. And Tammanna's advisors came and told him there were 3 ways by which Tammanna could get back his land. The 200 acres which he has fenced up, Basavayya has fenced up, you can get it back. We have 3 ways. He could go to the court of law. Advice. And you know that most of the times, if at all you want to lose the last penny, you have to go to the court. Many people, elderly people always suggest this. If you discuss at home, children, your parents and all, going to the court and that matters. Usually if you want to lose the last penny, go to the court. That is the advice many of the elders give. And one option is this. He could go to the court of law. Or he could also take recourse to the police. These all things, see, like this happened, you have to write, okay, you know, writing complaint, you know that, no? Writing complaint. You write a complaint and all inch and pinch of it you write, and you tell him he has done injustice to me, like that he is a selfish man, he is greedy, and all things, how much he has damaged, and he has encroached my land. He brought 200 people along with him, and he forced me, he threatened me, he did like this and like that. That means this is another way. Go to the police. And if he did not like to do both these ways, they had one more option. And he could also use muscle power. Now he brought 200 people. You go with 400 people there to get the land back. So 3 options were given to Tammanna by his friends or colleagues who were there with him. There was any number of persons ready to attack Basavayya. Now, actually, Tammanna had enough money with him. He had power with him. He could, if at all he wanted to get it forcibly, he could do, because he had many people, number of persons with him ready to attack Basavayya. And rest of his land, all the land, he could take it back. But Tammanna was in search of a method. And there we see a change in Tammanna's thinking. Okay, he was thinking something different. He was searching for a method that could destroy Basavaya completely. If at all Tamanna wanted to have the land, 200 acres of land, then after that, once again, only in force, he brought 400 people. Next, he may bring 500 people, like that rivalry. But he didn't want to beat him. Tamanna thought, no, if I want to destroy him, we have to destroy him completely so that he should not come up once again. So Tamanna got all his experience composed. Every experience of him, he composed, and in the form of a ballad. Ballad means a short story which can be sung. Usually, these ballads are very nice to listen. And earlier, our people, what we say in Janapada literature and everything, we used to like Janapada songs. Why? There is behind that, there is a great story. So, Tamanna thought of this method, composed in the form of ballads and sang them in public. Whatever experiences, bad experiences with this Basavaya and everything, he composed some poems or ballads and he sang them in the public. And their rivalry moved away from the visible. Now, till now, it was visible rivalry. What? He is going to purchase land. This one is also going to purchase land. Next, it came up to the level, there is no land left. And finally, 200 acres of land was just encroached by Basavaya. And now, Tamanna changes whole route. And this fight becomes now from visible to invisible. And there is rivalry, but nobody can come to know how the rivalry goes. Now, Basavaya could not do the same way. Whatever it means. Now, for example, this Tamanna used to sing, beautiful, wonderfully used to sing. He used to compose very well because he became well versed in that, okay, composing different ballads and everything. But Basavaya tried this way, but talent is talent. Talent is not equal to all. So, he has to strive hard. But Basavaya could not do this. That is the sad part of it. He tried to show his rivalry in doing agriculture tasks. Now, he is becoming famous. So many people are calling him, honoring him, garlanding him because he is singing so well. All the different songs, composing lot of things and everything. So many people honored him because in literature he is coming up. And this man, he thought the other way. He tried to show his rivalry in doing agricultural tasks more diligently. Like, for example, all things, that means taking good crop, better than him, he could get the crops because he was concentrating in it and everything. He did that. But still, he was not satisfied. Everything was in vain. Meanwhile, Tamanna's reputation started spreading all over. You know that usually one who goes in this field, literature and all, if at all he puts everything in it, he can do, after a few years, he can achieve greater things. And many people will recognize. And this work was recognized by all. And his songs started making mention of Basavaya's cruelty. Whatever Basavaya showed cruelty, everything was in that songs. So, this one, what happened? All people came to know about Basavaya's meanness. That means his small-mindedness. Everything, all people came to know. Scholars and critics went after his songs and earned their share of fame. Basavaya became desperate. Now, he could not tolerate this. He became desperate. No, day by day, this Tamanna is becoming famous and he was angry. Basavaya was angry like anything and retaliated by encroaching on more and more Tamanna's land. He started encroaching more and more land. First he started a little bit and then he started a little bit more, and like that he encroached more and more land. But Tamanna was ignorant of all this because he did not worry about that. He was not bothered about these things and he became very ignorant of all this and blissfully enjoyed his singing. He happily sang and he found happiness in that, and that happiness was within and he was sharing with all. So, This J. Shirudrapa is telling, Haduva hakkige beke birudu sanmana. Like that. He became very happy. He was very happy singing, and finally those who heard him also became happy. Art had become art. Whatever the art had become, the reason, okay, and a important thing in his life. He was even felicitated as the best poet of the times. Usually, somebody is singing and who is having the talent of singing everything in a wonderful voice, and also is a composer and singer. At the time, naturally, they get honors, and he was felicitated many times. But Basavaya felt humiliated by this, which he tried to hide by acquiring all kinds of luxuries, different, lot of luxuries. Now, for example, he might have purchased one vehicle or anything like that. Lot of luxury life he wanted to have in front of him, and he wanted to show that he is greater, but that did not work. He got a palatial mansion built. That means usually people construct big palaces like mansions just in order to show. Whether happiness is there or not, that is not important. But the palatial mansion this Basavaya built for himself, appointed a number of people to praise him. That means, see, look at this, he has constructed one that much big building, inside the interiors are like that and everything, and he also appointed such people to praise him, and even these people did that, but still he had lot of gold, diamonds and precious stones, everything he accumulated, but nothing worked. But his house looked dull and empty because Tamanna's books were not there. He might have had a library, very big library, but many used to come and say, okay, but do you have any books of Tamanna? Because he is very famous and he is also a localite. And if you don't have, what kind of library is this? Like that, they started talking. They're also just praising Tamanna, and he could not tolerate this. But his house looked dull and empty because Tamanna's books were not there in his library at home. He attempted to fill the whole things in his home, all things like that. Now, some people, he called some scholars also. Some poets he invited. Some musicians he invited to his place. These all things he tried, but they came there, and only thing is that he could listen was they were talking about Tamanna. They were always talking about Tamanna, and this was a setback for Basavaya. One day, Basavaya came to know that Tamanna was ill. Now, one opportunity. Okay, one day he came to know that Tamanna was ill. The news made him very, very happy. Usually, when there are rivals, this is what happens, because this competition is not positive. This is a negative competition. At that point, Basavaya found the means of surpassing Tamanna. Now he thought, anyway, Tamanna is not having good health, but I am having good health, so I am in a better position. Now I am having better health. But Tamanna thought differently. Now, Tamanna's disease was Basavaya's health. That is what Basavaya thinks, isn't it? Tamanna's disease is Basavaya's health. That is what Basavaya thought. But Tamanna contemplated death. As long as he continued his rivalry at the level of the body, now until this body is there, okay, and only there can be a competition between. If this body is not there, will there be competition? This was the thinking of Tamanna. And Basavaya would go on offering stiff competition, like different, like in front of him he used to do lot of things, because he was having good health and everything, showy things he did and everything, but nothing affected Tamanna. Tamanna thought, okay, I should do something else. But if he died, Basavaya could do nothing to defeat him. Tamanna's thought was excellent. That means, if at all Tamanna is going to die, if he is dying, after death, Basavaya cannot compete. That means he cannot die. So, this was the thought Tamanna had. And the old man ends his storytelling, the coconut garden owner's wife, that wishing to destroy Basavaya completely, Tamanna gave up everything. Wishing to defeat Basavaya, Tamanna gave up everything and ran off from his village. And he disappeared from the village. And all people thought that Tamanna died. Tamanna died. And as long as Tamanna was there, Basavaya also had a reason to be alive. Because competition. Basavaya also had a reason to be alive. But once Tamanna left the place, Basavaya passed away because he became dull. His life started getting bored up. Whatever spirit he had, he lost it. And finally, sickness or something like that came and he passed away. The old man tells the lady, I hope you are back in this. Now, the old man is telling the story to the owner's wife, and the old man tells the lady that Basavaya died because he had no reason to live. He says he had no reason to live. Then he confesses to her that he says that, do you know who is that Tamanna? This is only Tamanna. He says that, and this is that Tamanna himself. After Basavaya's death, Tamanna tells the lady that he forgot all his songs, all the ballads, lost his fame and became a non-entity. Until there was competition, he was in the fray. Now no competition, so he lost his songs, lost his ballads, lost his entity. He concludes telling her that way he avenged himself. That way he avenged himself. That is what he says. Now, Tamanna tells the woman that the experiences of his life made him realize that human nature is very strange. Now, this lesson is for all of us children, students. Whatever Tamanna is telling now, it is really realization. Realization. He says that it made him all these experiences, a lot of rivalry and everything. These experiences of his life made him realize that human nature is very strange. He sums up his experiences in one sentence. He tells her that though man works to fulfill his many needs like wealth, education, art, and many more things, yet those things do not give him the right, compelling reason to live. It is not wealth that compels him to live. It is not the things that he has amassed compelling him to live. It is not just whatever qualification, that education, qualification, it is not compelling him to live. It is not art that compels him to live. And he says that all through his life, all through his left, that means life, man lives for some kind of unbearable vengefulness. That means some kind of unbearable vengefulness. He lives for that. It is in this vengefulness that he finds a reason for existence. Many times we live our life like this, and finally using his autobiographical account as an example, the old man tries to covertly give her a message. He tells her that her husband was flourishing as a rich man. Now, the lady, that means the owner's wife, she was not happy with her husband, because earlier her husband was working all things. After this old man came to the coconut grew, he became changed person, and he was not concentrating in his whole plot and everything. So for that, now this old man advises her and tells her that he tells her that her husband was flourishing as a rich man and was not ready to accept any advice. We cannot give him advice. Man is so complicated that till the day of his death, man is so complicated that till the day of his death, he goes on living for some revenge or the other. He lives for some revenge or the other, confronting one challenge or the other. He wants her to understand that she had better try to understand why her husband is living like that. Better you understand why he is living like that, not just to get upset. Instead of that, you set up your mind to his thinking, why he is changed today. And finally, he asks her to take the whole story as a dream and ought to take his words seriously. That means she has to take everything seriously. We can infer here that he is saddened by the coconut grove owner's lifestyle and wants to put an end to it by cautioning the lady about her husband and do something to find out why her husband was doing so. She didn't know why her husband is doing like that. And this story, after listening to this story, the lady got some knowledge why he does like that. As soon as the old man finishes his story, the first narrator reappears. I told you in the beginning, the first narrator came there and he reappears here and tells the reader that he had seen all this in a dream. He had seen all this in a dream, and hence he is unable to elaborate it. In the beginning, he started with a flash. Now he is coming to a conclusion that he is unable to elaborate it. So this is the lesson, the gardener. I hope you have liked this lesson. There are so many questions coming from this chapter for the final exams in the second PUC exams. For example, one question may come: how does the reference to Russia and America provide another dimension to the story? Now, you may wonder many times whether many students wonder whether from which chapter this sentence is taken. We have not come across at all. So, for that, how does the reference to Russia and America provide another dimension to the story? Similarly, when Tamanna makes a reference to Russia's declaration to America, that America is not their enemy and she will not wage a war against America, it is a surprising thing. Now, America thought that Russia is a competitor. Now, Russia is saying that she is not the competitor to America. And at that time, it is a surprising thing. It is only a strange strategy by the writer to suggest that Tamanna and Basavaya belong to postmodern society. One can also infer that a literary artist in the modern world cannot be blind to man's problems in general and try to suggest solution at the local level, man's problems are deep rooted and have implications at different levels. Man's problems go beyond a nation, and that means though the problems of human society are the same, they assume different dimensions as human society becomes more and more complex every day.